thought so.
Are you gonna stay or go?
I'm gonna actually, if I got a cough, I'm gonna go
You're
right
gonna
out the door.
hang.
Yeah,
Just do me a favor though, don't be here where she can see you, because she'll look at you. You wanna be over there or over there? There's a little alley right here that she can see you. No, don't leave, sit right here on the couch. Right here.
Cindy, do what you want, babe.
I'm hiding back here. Well, I'm behind the camera.
Wait. We rolling? Okay. So, and tell me something. You gotta talk in the mirror. Forget I'm over here.
Okay.
Forget about that. Just so you can look at the camera.
Got it.
So where are you in your battle or journey, or what do you like to say? Oh, let me just warn you. I just say anything that pops into my head sometimes.
Okay.
I certainly would never mean to offend you, but
I'm not easily
I don't.
offended.
Well, you might express. I just don't know what would or wouldn't offend anybody. So I'm just.
You're not gonna hurt my feelings
Thank you.
or offend me in any way.
Good.
You
I
can
didn't wave me off,
you
but
can ask me anything.
I'm starting to get the sense that that's a common trait among ALS patients is they're unoffendable is what that's what I'm starting to. Anyway, so where are you on? What do you say? Journey or path or?
I guess journey
Yeah.
is an appropriate word.
Yeah, and so where are you? Are you? I mean, I see you're in a wheelchair. So does that mean you can't walk, or what exactly? How is your life being affected right now?
Compared with 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago. Oh, my phone is buzzing. Does that matter?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Where is it?
In my cup holder.
Oh, right here. It's very quiet.
I didn't know what level of quiet was acceptable. Anyway,
Let's put it over
you
here.
can just give it, yeah.
She'll light up and you won't be able to answer that.
So, let's see, where am I on my journey? I guess my status today, if that's your question,
There you go.
is that I am pretty much paralyzed and have no movement in my legs. I have movement in my torso and arms, but not fine motor movement. I still speak and swallow fairly normally, but my breathing is compromised by about half of what would be normal. So I take a lot of breaths, and I have a machine at home that helps me. You need, when you have ALS, you have to move your CO2 out. It's not so much that you need oxygen, it's that you're not pushing your carbon dioxide out.
The bad stuff. Interesting. And so, but I'm finding with you, as I've been finding, you're the third person that I've met with ALS. You're not down. You're not beaten. You don't seem beaten by it. You seem lively and with interests and talking to everybody in the room. Tell me where that comes from. Why didn't you just curl up in a ball and give up?
Well, I don't think that would have been my nature to begin with.
They're not going to hear me, so start over and just I don't know what would have been.
Yeah.
So start over.
What makes me treat each day? Okay, so if I only have X number of days, I'm going to make them as good a day as I can. What's within my control? So, do I have sad days where I'm down and angry and sad that I have ALS? Absolutely, but I don't want those to be the majority of my days. I want to be with friends and be with my family and watch my kids grow up and make them laugh and, have inside jokes with my husband. All that makes me happy, and all of that makes me forget that I'm sick. And I think that's a good day when you can just have ALS in the background. That's sort of, it never really occurs to me to throw in the towel and hide under the covers, because I got a lot to look forward to.
Are you gonna try and cram all the good into the time you have left? Are you gonna try harder than if you were fine, or just not change your life, your happiness of your life?
I believe for me that the most beautiful part of life is a normal day. Whatever that day brings. A rainy day with a good book and the dog, a fire in the fireplace, or a sunshiny day at the soccer field with my kids, hopefully winning. Rolling around the neighborhood with my husband with a glass of wine in my cup holder. Normal is so beautiful. And I don't need to necessarily change a thing or leave my 1 mile neighborhood radius to really make my heart happy. Although I like to travel, I mean, we've gone out of town a little bit. Took the kids to Disney. Hey, you have ALS, what are you going to do? I'm going to Disney World. So, of course, we've taken the kids to the beach and visited family. We went to DC and we've done some fun things, but those aren't my highlights. I think it's awesome to watch Harry Potter and order pizza and eat ice cream and have the kids have their friends over.
Same stuff everybody loves.
Those are perfect days. I think maybe some people don't know it.
Did you know it before?
I sort of did.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was surprising.
I used to run, and I would pray as I ran, and pray for other people and pray for whatever's going on. My first prayer out of my cul-de-sac was, thank you, God, I have legs that get me where I'm going. And it's funny because my running partners, the girlfriends I would run with would say, well, I wish the Lord gave me thinner thighs or whatever. And I used to be like, shame on you, because who cares? You can cover up your fat thighs, but you're out here and you're running and you're enjoying, good breaths. So I think I was grateful and appreciative prior to ALS.
That's cool.
I think that might have been.
Start over. I'm sorry. I think that might have been.
I think that might have been one thing that pissed me off, because I thought I was grateful for being healthy. I didn't take it for granted, and then bam, out of the blue, the worst news. But I think once you get through your grieving process, you kind of go back to who you were, in the sense of whether you're going to take life, as a glass half full or a glass half empty. And you kind of come full circle to, okay, I got hit with, bad news, but still going to aim for those great days.
And have them. You have them, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, your love of reading, was that was that always a part of your
Hold
life?
on, Scott.
It just takes a second.
Okay, we're good.
Go ahead.
I've always
Yeah,
loved.
talk about your love of reading when you're talking about Oprah. I just want to hear about whether that was always, because what a great love to have when you're in a wheelchair. I mean, how
Yeah.
lucky is that? Although it doesn't really matter because you love to run too and you're still happy. But
Right.
I'm thinking too much as always.
That's
Talk
funny.
to me a little bit about what reading meant to you and what it means to you now, and that's all. And well,
Yeah.
one more thing, which is you have a perspective on the world that you have a perspective on the world as though you were an author, as though you're paying attention to your life. Most people just aren't, myself included. Just talk about reading a little bit. I think it's a cool little, I don't know what.
Yeah. I love to read, and I think So my dad was self-educated, and he only went to 8th grade and made a big life for himself and our family. And he was always amazed that what we were learning in school and in college, and some of my brothers have gone on, post-college, and he was always so blown away at the opportunity that you can just learn something not in college for free, but, in school, there's all this stuff you can learn about. And he considered himself, a lifelong learner. He said, there's nothing you can't learn that you can't learn in a book. And so he was a really smart guy, but he had no paperwork to back it up. And from that, I just always respected and loved reading. I always had lots of books in my home. And so for my kids, I desperately wanted them to be passionate readers. So we don't pay allowance in my house, but you get $5 every time you read a book. And I have the best readers. My kids would rather read than almost do anything. And so I think reading takes you out of yourself. You meet people and go places and imagine things and ideas that you would never have, I think, through TV and movies. Not that I don't enjoy TV and movies, but books are different.
Definitely. I mean, it feels to me like, not that there's anything wrong with my career, but it feels to me like when you see a movie, you watch them do it, and when you read a book, you feel like you did it.
Yeah.
It's inside of.
Right. The characters are your own.
Yeah. So when I do video, I try to always put words on the screen and let the audience read them and feel like they're theirs.
Yeah.
When you came in and started talking, you had a sort of a worldly way about you that I'm only imagining as you went on to talk about Oprah, that's where that came from. That you visited places and met people and done things.
A few, yeah.
Unimaginable. Anyway, so back to your situation, which now, when Chris and I first spoke, I was really taken by his positive take on the whole thing. And then I was really taken by Bob's positive take on the whole thing. And now I'm really taken by your positive take on the whole thing. And so it's all just like a big old ALS party. But so let's switch. Let me do what I always do, which is go the other way a little bit and remind me that it's hard, Talk a little bit about that. And now the last thing that I want to do, and I think Chris is in agreement, the last thing I want to do is one of those sad documentaries and we lose the guy at the end. I just don't want to do that. I'm not interested. They're fine, but I want a lot of people to love this movie if we make the movie, to love it, not to be like, oh, I went on this horrible journey with this guy, And so taking all that into account, and your kind of mastery of the language, whether you're aware of it or not, talk to me a little bit about the downside in a way that won't make me want to change a channel. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
That's a big challenge.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, though. Okay, so.
You want a second? Because we don't have to just launch.
No, I think the downside of ALS is pre-diagnosis. When you live with a looming, unknown diagnosis, I would say for me that was devastating. I wanted answers. I live in America. I want them now. I want to be diagnosed. I want a treatment. The downside of ALS is that you perhaps spend, like for me, 9 months being undiagnosed is what they call you. So you think maybe you have MS or maybe you have Lyme disease, whatever. 9 months is a long time to suffer the unknown. Then you get your diagnosis. And the downside on that end is that you leave the office with no prescription or treatment plan, unlike other diseases where you immediately get scheduled for, numerous treatments or medications. You leave with, we don't really know how long you have to live. We don't really know how this is going to affect you, but we'll see you in 3 months and assess your level of weakness and measure your breathing and that kind of thing. I would say the downside to all of that is the unknown is terrifying, and the diagnosis is a big letdown because you're diagnosed with no tangible, practical steps. The upside to that is you get diagnosed and you're done worrying about what you have. You have what you have. You've got this disease. It doesn't have a cure. You don't have to remember to take your meds. You don't have to get someone to drive you to chemo. You don't spend a lot of time at the doctor because your diagnosis leaves you with go out and do what you want to do because there are no limitations. Have a glass of wine, eat a pound of chocolate. They don't have you're limitless in what you're capable of for as long as you can do those things. That's the upside of ALS. You have the freedom to behave like a kid in a candy store, unlike some diseases where you might have a cure and a treatment, but you are having chemo and you feel sick.
Yeah.
You don't really feel sick with ALS. You feel immobile, but not ill. I don't feel crappy every day. I feel pretty darn good. I just can't move. So it's a whole different kind of illness, really, than what I'm used to thinking of.
It's interesting. It's fascinating. Your take on the whole thing, especially. What about your family? You have kids?
They're adorable. Would you like to see a picture? No. I have 3 children. I have Elizabeth. I have a husband, Matt. That's how I started the family. He is a great guy. We have 3 daughters. Elizabeth's 14, a freshman in high school, and then we have identical twins who are 12. They're in middle school.
And what, that's gotta be a hard part of it, part of all this, to tell them.
Hold on, Scott.
Yeah, go ahead. I could almost see how, well, I don't wanna say tougher for them than for you, but it might be tougher for you to tell them than to hear it yourself, or anyway, forget it, go ahead and talk a little bit.
Okay. As a parent,
Let me say one thing.
Sure.
I didn't ask you that question because I wanna make you cry,
I won't cry.
but I also don't wanna have you make an effort to not be emotional.
Yeah.
So I wanna.
If I cry, I'll cry,
Well, I
but
don't mean yeah, but I
but
wanna hear
it
the
is
real
what it
story.
is.
I
I've
know.
told it before, but I know what you mean.
Okay, I don't
You're
know.
not trying to get the tearjerker effect.
Or the opposite. I
Right.
also don't want you to make a point of not being close to your feelings so that you won't cry. If that's what you're gonna do,
Right.
don't even bother answering the question.
Right.
Okay.
As a mom,
Yeah.
you try to avoid any kind of pain for your kids. You're the mom. You're the one that's there when they're sick or when they're, a friend hurts their feeling, whatever. So for me, it was really hard to be the source of grief. The news itself, I felt, I'm a pretty open person, so I knew Matt and I would tell them as soon as we knew. And we tell them everything we know as we go along. I think that's just a philosophy of ours in parenting. There's no questions that are off limits ever. So they're in the know as much as we are about the disease, but being the source of sadness for people you love, especially your children, is a heavy load. It's a heavy load to bear. Yeah.
How did they take it?
Beautifully, as children do.
Start over. They're not going to hear me say how did they take it, so forget it. Talk to me a little bit about what.
When we got the phone call from Dr. Bedlack saying, you don't have anything else, therefore it is ALS, the children knew we were waiting for the phone call. And when the phone rang and we got the news, we sat down and had a family meeting, which we often do. And one of them said, oh, good. Now we know what it is. We can work on fixing it. One of them said, can I go watch TV now? And one of them broke down in tears. And that's about right for their personalities. You know, one wanted to not think about it and go watch TV. It was too much to take in. And one was like, let's fix this, you know, game on. And the other one was, you know, this is just like when the dog died, you know, just devastated and didn't want to hear it and was so sad. But they are 2 years into it now. And although it affects them, and I know they're saddened by it and cry at times and have difficulty at times, it's awkward to have your mom be the mom in the wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
It's embarrassing. But that's all okay. We, like I said, we lay that all out there. You know, I get that it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed, you know, so it is what it is, though, and we soldier on. I think children are more self-oriented, and so they don't really see the big picture or the long term, and that's great, because they're not going to really appreciate what we went through till they're 40. They're going to look back and go,
Oh my God.
wow.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
But one thing we try to teach them a lot is that as a family, as a member of our group of friends and community and church, we can do hard things and not be devastated by them. You can still have a great day in the middle of a horrible situation.
Maybe the best day sometimes.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's interesting. What am I missing here? What should I be talking to you about that a guy without ALS, not even in a family of a person with ALS, wouldn't think to ask about?
I think that the problem with ALS is a lack of awareness. For instance, this is October, and it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I have had several friends have breast cancer and go through treatment and are all, thankfully, in remission. Like 5 friends, that's a lot of women in their mid-40s to 50. But I feel like the Breast Cancer Association has done a fabulous job of awareness. Women know to get their mammogram, and we all in this room, I'm sure, know about breast cancer and may know someone with it and what the treatment looks like. I think the problem with ALS is that people don't know what you're talking about. You say, maybe someone hasn't seen you in a long time. They say, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong with you?" You say, "I have ALS." They don't know what that means. You say Lou Gehrig's disease, still a blank. And they're like, "Is it like MS?" They start guessing, and you're like, "No, it's not like that." And you have to explain. And that's really hard because I've had to explain it, and I'm pretty matter of fact. It's, neurodegenerative disease that, shortens your lifespan, etc. And people cry. I mean, they cry right there in front of you. You're like, well, I didn't mean to make you cry, but this is what I have. And I wish more people knew what it is, how it affects you, how it affects the family. Because I think if they cared, if they knew someone, they would care. There's just no way around it. It's an impossible, horrible, dreadful thing to live with. And when you see it in action, your heart goes out. So I think awareness is our biggest hurdle.
Fantastic. When are you going to write a book? Yeah.
Not writing a book.
No book coming out?
No. I'd rather hang out with the kids.
Go for a walk around.
Pet my dog. Yeah.
All right, I think we're done. Anybody else? Is anybody else here?
Oh, yeah.
What do you got? A question for her?
No, I was sitting here, it was very, kind of amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not done any video really, but I feel like kind of just caught some lightning in a bottle.
About it, and I may have misunderstood what his point was, but at least it brought this into my head, which is you have such a great perspective on. Well, you sort of talked about that you've always had that. Chris, am I missing? She was very positive before she ever got sick.
Yeah, I get the sense that she was.
And she talked about that.
Yeah.
Was that your question, sort of? Was that your
Well,
point?
yeah, before you talked, Dan, now I got a sense from you when we met, but I was thinking, sharing more about your perspective, how it's changed. But I get the sense that you've always had a good perspective.
It hasn't changed.
And it hasn't really changed, just different.
Well, when I first got diagnosed, people send you books to read because that's what you do. You bring a casserole or you bring a book. Anyway, several of the books I read, and one is Augie Nieto's story. He's the guy who invented the life cycle bicycle in the gyms, and he has ALS, and he lives in California, and has raised millions, tens of millions of dollars for ALS. But he said his doctor calls it the nice guy's disease. And that he said, and he goes to like whoever is the best neurologist in the whole wide world. I'm sure Augie can afford him.
Yeah.
So he said, I rarely, if ever, can recall getting a patient and diagnosing them with ALS who isn't just the greatest guy. Or he was speaking to Augie. I'm sure he meant women as well. But I think it's funny because the online groups that I've joined where I, chit-chat with other ALSers and, Chris and Bob, there are people you want to have over for a beer. There are people you would choose to spend time with. And it's a funny oddity that his doctor called it the nice guy's disease. So we're skinny and we're nice. I don't know what else, but it's really odd.
Positive.
Yeah.
You're very positive all day. That's funny. I think that's it, right, Chris?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, good. Done. Yeah.